Twilight. Yeah, broken cobblestones of twilight. Broken hearts and neon dripping light. Whisper secrets on the coldest stand. Gotta tell my story with the shaking hand. Mama warned me about the city glow, but I'm chasing, stopping down the avenues. The God, I feel the fire in my veins. Come on now, let the rhythm call my name. Sing it loud, light it up tonight. We'll burn it bright under streetlight skies. All the voices rise, raise your hands high. Come on, keep it moving to the mowing line. Ease the pain. Pass me hope wrapped up in broken dreams. I trade my fear for these funky schemes. Got a spark that'll light the darkest block, and a rebel's heart that just won't stop. Feel that pulse beneath the crowded roar. Come on now, let it hit you to the core. Sing it loud, light it up tonight. Yeah, we'll burn it bright under streetlight skies. All the voices rise, raise your hands high. Come on, keep it moving to the moaning line. In this hush, like a true soul show. Good God. Whisper praise to the midnight groove. Let your spirit find a brand new move. Breathe it in, let the echoes roam. Every song is just a stepping stone. Hold the note before you let it fly. They will lift off, reaching for the sky. Tonight, we'll burn it bright under streetlight skies. All the voices rise, raise your hands high. Come on, keep it moving to the moaning line. Let that fever burn inside your soul. Never let the fire lose control. Yeah, we ride this groove till morning breaks. Come on now, feel every move we make.
The air in the south can feel heavy, thick with heat, history and hope. In the summer sun of Barnwell, South Carolina, a young boy kicks at the red clay dust, leaving small clouds behind him as he walks barefoot down a dirt road. That boy's name is James Brown. He doesn't have much. A roof that leaks when it rains, shoes worn through to the sole, a mother who's left, and a father who's mostly gone. But he does have rhythm, deep inside his bones, pounding in his chest like a heartbeat that refuses to give up. When the church bell rings on Sunday, he's there standing at the door, watching the congregation move. The choir sways, the preacher shouts, and the drummer slaps the snare in time with the shouting and the tears. To James, that sound, that rhythm, isn't just music, it's survival. Every stomp of a foot, every clap of a hand is a promise that tomorrow might just be better than today. By the time he's a teenager in Augusta, Georgia, James is hustling to stay alive. He shines shoes outside barbershops, dancing a little while he works, just enough to make the men laugh and toss him a coin or two. He learns that movement gets attention, that rhythm opens doors. He starts to dream of the big stage, even if he's still stuck on the curb. Sometimes he dances on the street for nickels, twisting, spinning, sliding, turning the sidewalk into his stage. He's poor, hungry, sometimes in trouble with the law. But when he dances, he's free. The local church sees that spark. A preacher gives him a pair of old shoes. Another lets him sing with the choir. James finds out he can hit notes like lightning, high, sharp, full of soul. People stop and listen. They don't see the ragged boy anymore. They see something powerful. From that moment, he understands something that will carry him for life. If you can make people feel, they'll never forget you. That fire, born in gospel, hardened by struggle, will carry James Brown all the way from Georgia's dirt roads to gold records, flashing lights and sold-out crowds. The rhythm that started as survival will soon turn into a revolution. But for now, he's still that barefoot boy, standing in the southern heat, dreaming of sound, dreaming of movement, and waiting for the music to call his name. Every legend starts with a small stage. For James Brown, it was a tiny local hall in Toccoa, Georgia, a crowd of maybe 50 people, the floorboards creaking, the lights buzzing like tired bees. He wasn't famous yet. He wasn't even supposed to sing that night. But when the microphone was passed to him, something raw and unstoppable burst out. He dropped to his knees, screamed, like a man being saved and set on fire at the same time. The crowd didn't know what hit them. In that moment, the name James Brown stopped being just another man. It became a force. He joined a group called the Famous Flames. They wore sharp suits, practiced dance steps until the soles of their shoes smoked, and drove all night to play for $5 and a meal. The rhythm was tight, but James wanted more. He wanted perfection. Rehearsals weren't rehearsals. They were battles. He demanded precision, discipline, sweat. Every horn had to hit the note like a bullet. Every step had to land on the beat. Or someone would hear him shout, "You're late, you're off the one." The band feared him, but they also worshipped him. He was their commander, their preacher, their storm. When he said, "Hit me," they hit him. Musically, rhythmically, with every ounce of strength they had left. And then came the song that changed everything. Please, Please, Please. Recorded in 1956, it was desperate, pleading, electric. James dropped to the floor mid-performance, clutching the mic stand like it was the last thing keeping him alive. Stagehands would rush in to throw a cape over his shoulders, guiding him off stage, only for him to rise again, throw the cape aside, and scream the chorus once more. It was theatre. It was gospel. It was the truth shouted through a man's lungs. Audiences had never seen anything like it. He wasn't just performing, he was testifying. Every drop of sweat on his brow was a declaration that pain could become power, that rhythm could transform suffering into joy. And that's where his style was born. Not in the suit, but in the struggle. James Brown didn't copy anybody. He took the sharpness of a preacher's suit, the polish of a boxer's footwork, the pride of a soldier's stance, and turned it into a signature. He looked like he belonged on stage, even when the world said he didn't. As the 1960s began, the shows got bigger, the lights got hotter, but the fire inside James only burned brighter. He'd built himself out of rhythm, willpower, and sweat, and now he was becoming something rare. A man whose style, voice, and movement couldn't be separated. Every night he left the stage drenched, drained, and grinning. Every night he proved his motto, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And every night the crowd left, knowing they had seen not just a man, but a miracle in motion. James Brown was no longer chasing the music, he was the music. Before James Brown ever opened his mouth, he was already speaking, through the way he looked. By the early 1960s, the street kid from Georgia had transformed into a man who looked like success itself. Tailored suits, crisp collars, shining shoes, every thread pressed to perfection. He moved through backstage corridors and hotel lobbies like a general inspecting his troops. If you worked for James Brown, you dressed sharp, you stood tall, and you looked the part. He understood something that few performers did back then. Style is communication. It tells the world how to treat you before you ever say a word. When James Brown stepped on stage in a suit so clean it could cut glass, audiences saw not just a singer, but a man who demanded respect. The shine of his cufflinks, the gleam on his shoes, the way he flicked that cape off his shoulders, it all said one thing: power. And yet his style was never still. As his sound grew bolder, so did his wardrobe. The neat suits of the early days gave way to silk, sequins, and rhinestones that caught the light and threw it back in every direction. The stage lights hit his cape and made him glow, half man, half supernova. People talked about the way he moved, but they remembered the way he looked. Every sweat-soaked performance turned his clothes into armour, proof that he'd given everything he had. Off stage, he carried that same precision. Perfectly trimmed hair, shining cars, polished rings. He said, "When I look good, I feel good. And when I feel good, I make other people feel good." It wasn't vanity, it was victory. For a man who had once danced barefoot for nickels, every suit was a flag planted in the ground. James Brown turned presentation into protest. At a time when the world was still trying to tell black men how small they could be, he refused to shrink. He stood tall in glitter and silk and said, "Look at me." From church pulpits to nightclubs, from Harlem to Hollywood, young men started to walk a little taller, shine their shoes a little brighter, square their shoulders like the Godfather himself. James Brown had shown them that style could be a weapon, a way to say, "I'm somebody," even when the world wouldn't listen. He made confidence look good, and he made good look dangerous. Every time the cape went on, every time it slid to the floor, the message was the same. You can take my sweat, my energy, my voice, but you will never take my pride. By the end of the decade, James Brown wasn't just the hardest working man in show business. He was the best dressed. The man who turned fashion into rhythm, rhythm into confidence, and confidence into revolution. And the next revolution, the one that would change the sound of the planet, was already rumbling beneath his polished shoes. By the late 1960s, James Brown wasn't just chasing the beat, he was rearranging it. He'd taken soul music, cracked it open, and found something raw and primal inside. Something that didn't care about pretty melodies or smooth harmonies. Something that lived in the rhythm, in the one. Most musicians thought of rhythm as background. James Brown made it the main event. He told his band, "Everything starts on the one. Hit it hard, hit it clean, and don't you ever miss it." And so, everything began to revolve around that downbeat. The first thump of the measure. Drums, bass, horns, guitars, voices, all locking into that single, undeniable pulse. It was simple, but it was revolutionary. Funk wasn't polite. It was sweaty, hypnotic, alive. It didn't care about sweetness. It wanted truth. And James Brown became its preacher. He'd walk into rehearsal like a man leading an army, one hand raised, eyes burning, shouting, "On the one!" And when that band hit, it was like the earth itself shifted a little closer to the groove. He stripped the music bare. No filler, no fluff. Just drums snapping, bass popping, horns punching, and that unmistakable voice. Grunts, screams, shouts. All rhythm, all heartbeat. Songs like Cold Sweat, I Got the Feeling, and Get Up. They were written for the body. He didn't sing to the people. He sang through them. Every every good God, every hit me, was a jolt of electricity passing from stage to soul. James Brown had turned the whole idea of popular music inside out. He replaced chords with rhythm, replaced melody with motion, replaced predictability with pulse. And from that pulse, whole worlds were born. Without James Brown, there is no Parliament Funkadelic, no Prince, no Michael Jackson, no hip-hop. His grooves became the DNA of modern rhythm, chopped, sampled, looped, and reborn in every club, every studio, every dance floor on earth. But it wasn't just about music, it was about freedom, about taking the chaos of life, the pressure, and finding a steady beat underneath it all. A beat that said, "We're still here," a beat that refused to stop. And when the world felt like it might fall apart, in cities burning, in movements rising, James Brown stood in the spotlight, sweat running down his face, shouting into the microphone, because the one wasn't just a musical idea, it was a philosophy. The belief that no matter how scattered life becomes, there's always one moment, one heartbeat, one downstroke that holds it all together. James Brown didn't invent rhythm. He just taught the world how to feel it. By 1974, James Brown was no longer just a man. He was a myth. His name meant motion. His music meant power, meant pride. But even legends crave something deeper. And for James Brown, that call came from across the ocean. Back to the land where rhythm itself was born. Zaire, Africa, a country alive with sound, the buzz of markets, the cries of vendors, the hum of drums echoing through warm air, thick with dust and diesel. Kinshasa was pulsing, restless, vibrant, alive, as it prepared for the fight of the century. Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. The world called it the Rumble in the Jungle. But before the fists flew, the continent would witness a different kind of power. And at the heart of it all, James Brown. When he stepped off the plane, the air hit him, heavy, hot, alive. Drummers welcomed the performers at the airport, their rhythms exploding through the crowd. Brown stood there in a cape and dark glasses, surrounded by thousands of African fans chanting his name. He'd played to kings and presidents, but this was different. This was homecoming, a circle closing. For the first time, he wasn't the outsider. Here, his rhythm didn't need translation. The people understood. The drums, the movement, the call and response. It was all part of a shared language that stretched back centuries. That night, when he took the stage under the African sky, the air was electric. The stadium lights flickered, the humidity hung thick, and the crowd swayed like a single living body. He looked out and saw faces glowing in the dark, young, old, dancing, shouting. And when his band hit the first note, it wasn't just music, it was a reunion. James Brown screamed, and Africa screamed back. His voice, sharp as lightning, cut through the warm night air. Every good God and hit me was answered by a sea of hands rising into the sky. The horns hit, the bass popped, the drums cracked, and for a moment the world felt perfectly in rhythm. There, in that open-air stadium, the son of Georgia's red clay met the ancestors he'd been chasing through every note he ever sang. He had spent his life trying to control the groove, to command it, shape it, master it. But here, under the African moon, he didn't lead it, he joined it. That night changed him. He saw music not as a product to sell, but as a force to unite. He felt the pulse of history running beneath his feet, the same pulse he'd been carrying all along, hidden under suits and spotlight sweat. The rhythm of the earth itself. After the concert, he stayed awake for hours. He talked with the musicians from Zaire, from Congo, from Nigeria. He watched the people move, hips swaying, shoulders rolling, and he recognized something deeper than performance. It was spirit, the same spirit he'd been chasing since those days in the church back in Georgia. When James Brown left Africa, he was still the Godfather of Soul, but something in him had shifted. He carried a new calm, not the quiet of rest, but the stillness of understanding. He had gone to show the world American soul, but he came back knowing it had always been African at its roots. From that day on, the beat inside him wasn't just music, it was memory. The memory of drums on dirt, of voices in harmony, of rhythm older than pain and stronger than pride. James Brown had come home, not to a place, but to a feeling. And from then on, every time he shouted, "Get on up," he wasn't just calling to a crowd, he was calling to history itself. By the late 1960s, James Brown was more than a performer. He was a symbol. The world was shifting. Cities burned, movements rose, voices demanded to be heard. And James Brown, with his cape, his sharp suits, and his unstoppable rhythm, decided it was time to speak. He didn't march in the streets, he didn't write policy, he sang. And in that song, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud," he spoke for millions. It wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was a declaration of dignity. A man who had grown up barefoot on southern clay, who had danced on street corners for nickels, now commanded stages with a simple, undeniable truth. I am here. I am proud. I will not be invisible. The song hit like a thunderclap. Black audiences cheered. Young people stood taller, and the message rippled outward, through clubs, radio, and back alleys where rhythm was the language of survival. Yet James Brown was never simple. He was fiercely independent, often difficult, sometimes contradictory. He demanded discipline from his band, from his crew, from his city, and yet, in every shouted note, every stomping foot, every swing of his cape, he celebrated freedom. Freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of identity. He understood that style, rhythm, and pride were intertwined. When he walked on stage, he wasn't just performing, he was declaring that black excellence could be seen, heard, and felt. Every glimmering shoe, every energetic spin of the microphone stand became a manifesto. James Brown didn't just give his people music, he gave them confidence, he gave them presence, he gave them the courage to move, to shout, to be proud in a world that often told them to shrink. And through it all, he remained human, flawed, complex, hard-driving, passionate, sometimes reckless, sometimes tender, but always real, always unyielding. In that era when courage was measured in voices and fists and marching feet, James Brown's courage came in beats, in funk, in rhythm, in motion. He made pride feel irresistible. He made power move like music, and he reminded the world, one note, one stomp, one scream at a time, that identity is never something to hide. James Brown had always been about rhythm. Now he was about revolution, not just in music but in the hearts of the people who felt him, followed him, and carried his message forward. James Brown left this world on December 25th, 2006. The news hit like a bass drum, deep, resonant, impossible to ignore. The Godfather of Soul was gone. But anyone who had ever heard a drum snap, a horn punch, or a crowd roar knew he was not really gone. His life was more than music, it was motion itself, in body, in rhythm, in spirit. Every spin on stage, every stomp of the foot, every scream into the microphone had become a language of possibility. He had turned sweat into art, style into declaration, and rhythm into legacy. Artists across generations carry pieces of him. Prince spinning into his heels, Michael Jackson moonwalking across a stage, Beyoncé commanding an arena. They all move with James Brown's DNA in their muscles. Every sampled beat in hip-hop, every funk-inspired riff in pop, every choreographed shuffle in R&B, echoes of a man who taught the world to feel the music before hearing it. But it wasn't just about sound, it was about presence. The way he owned the room, the way he transformed every stage into a battlefield where pride, excellence, and a joy could coexist. He taught performers and listeners that style is soul in motion, that confidence is contagious, that rhythm is life itself. Even in passing, he continues to teach. Every young dancer in a small studio, every street musician pounding out a beat on a tin can, every fan moving to a James Brown groove, they carry him forward. He reminds us that music isn't just something you hear, it's something you live, something that courses through your veins, demands your body move, and lifts your spirit.